Hello, and welcome to French Philosophers React, a philosophical take on the news headlines for today, September 2nd, 2024. This is an AI-generated podcast and can make mistakes. Use it for generating possible ideas, but don't rely on it as an authoritative guide to the news or to the details of French philosophy. In the news today, Amanda Spielman, former Ofsted chief inspector, thinks that the announcement about the end of single-word verdicts for schools in England implies that short, ungraded inspections will be scrapped, and instead, a full set of judgments will be done in every inspection. She also welcomed the change, stating that parents liked the simplicity of one-word Ofsted judgments, but the system was flawed due to the weight of consequences attached to it. She believes this switch is beneficial for inspection, schools, parents, and children. Additionally, Kemi Badenoch, a conservative leadership candidate, has given up on one-word assessments and described the Labour government as clueless, irresponsible, and dishonest. The article also mentions that Keir Starmer will visit a school in London to do a pooled TV interview. Kemi Badenoch will formally launch her campaign for the Conservative leadership at 10:30 a.m., and James Cleverly will give a speech at 12:10 p.m. So what might French philosophers have to say about this news item? The story of a flawed system, unpacking the consequences of a simpler inspection method through the lens of Deleuze's concepts of desire and control. In the story of the abolition of single-word verdicts for schools in England, we find a tale of a flawed system that has been perpetuated by the weight of consequences attached to it. Amanda Spielman, former Ofsted chief inspector, welcomes this change, stating that parents liked the simplicity of one-word Ofsted judgments. However, as Gilles Deleuze would argue in his work on desire and control, Anti-Oedipus, such a simplistic system is often a sign of a deeper problem, the way power operates to maintain its own interests. In Desire and Pleasure, Deleuze explores how desire functions within systems of control. He argues that desire is not just a human faculty, but also an essential component of capitalist systems that perpetuate inequality, desire and pleasure. In this context, the single-word verdicts can be seen as a tool for exerting control over schools, imposing a simplistic and uniform assessment that masks the complexities of each institution. By removing these one-word judgments, we may indeed be moving towards a more nuanced understanding of school performance, but only if we recognize the underlying power dynamics at play. The change in inspection methodology also speaks to Deleuze's concept of becoming. In this framework, schools are not fixed entities, but rather dynamic systems that evolve and adapt over time. The previous one-word system was a way of freezing these systems in place, reducing complex processes to a single, easily quantifiable metric. By moving away from this approach, we may be allowing schools to become more than just their inspection grades, to develop new capacities and relationships with their communities. Furthermore, the reaction of Kemi Badenoch, a conservative leadership candidate, to the change highlights another aspect of Deleuze's thought: the importance of desire as a force for resistance, Anti-Oedipus. In her statement that the Labour government is clueless, irresponsible, and dishonest, we see a manifestation of the conservative desire to maintain the status quo, to resist any changes that might disrupt their hold on power. This reaction underscores the way power operates to maintain its own interests, often through the creation of simplistic narratives that mask more complex realities. In this context, the visits of Keir Starmer and James Cleverly to schools in London take on a different significance. These events may be seen as attempts to reassert control over the narrative, to impose their own brand of simplicity and clarity on an increasingly complex educational landscape. However, by recognizing the underlying power dynamics at play, we can begin to see these actions for what they are: attempts to maintain the status quo, rather than genuinely engaging with the complexities of education. Ultimately, the story of a flawed system is one that speaks to Deleuze's broader critique of modern societies, their tendency to reduce complex systems to simplistic, easily managed components. By recognizing this tendency and resisting it, we may be able to create more nuanced, adaptive educational institutions that truly serve the needs of children and communities. Thank you for listening to today's episode of French Philosophers React. Be sure to come back tomorrow for more reflective takes on the day's news.